Just to let you know, there are no story spoilers in this video. It is purely full of tips and tricks in a top 10 format that I genuinely wish I knew sooner before I started the Dawn of Ragnarok DLC. And I quickly want to thank Callum at the Ubisoft UK team for chucking me across an early access code, so I was able to get this video out to you very sharpish. And let's talk about the Hugr first, as it's instrumental in every aspect of this expansion. You will pick this up early as a gift from the dwarves as soon as you enter Svartalfheim from Ravensthorpe. However, you're gonna only be provided with one Hugr bar, which is essentially an adrenaline bar but purely for Odin abilities. This means that once it's activated, you're going to need to regain Hugr by either picking up Hugr blooms around the world, which you can collect on your mount, by the way, there's no need to jump off, or you can sacrifice your health at Yggdrasil shrines in specific locations around the map. You can also kill enemies to slowly regain Hugr, but this is all very time consuming, so I would highly recommend upgrading this bracer early on at a dwarven blacksmith, and this is going to provide you with those two Hugr bars so you can double activate abilities in combat, while you're exploring, or during a puzzle. And so many times I've had to stop what I was doing, go find Hugr to then come back and continue, and quite frankly it can become a little bit annoying. You'll also need 10 silica and certain fragments from specific enemies to upgrade to a second Hugr bar though, and you can only obtain silica by river raiding, and I've put all the locations of them on your screen right now, so I would really highly recommend that you go smash out a few river raids early doors, kill some enemies for those fragments and pick up your 10 silica, because the expansion is going to be a lot more fun when you do this, trust me. But now that we've got our two Hugr bars, we can have a lot more fun with these Odin abilities, which, I'll be honest, took me by surprise because I'm not necessarily into the whole fantasy aspect, but it's certainly a highlight for me in this expansion. But when it does come to these abilities, you don't need to obtain them via books of knowledge, but to actually obtain these 5 powers, you simply need to kill an NPC with a specific icon over their head. And once you've done that, all you then need to do is then socket that power in your Hugr rip. And what I would say is don't hoard them or get worried about interchanging them too much. These powers aren't scarce in this expansion, and Ubisoft have placed them near puzzles or places, which is kind of their way of telling you that you may want to consider using them in this area. And this is when those 2 Hugr bars are going to help you out a lot, because you can transform into a raven and fly to the top of synchronized points, which means no need for climbing, which I think is actually a really great thing. Saying that though, some of the points in the game are really high in the sky, so when your Hugr timer for the raven ability is about to expire, you can actually reactivate it with your second Hugr bar to double the time of it, and this also applies to all abilities, so essentially increasing the timer twice. Now, if you want to extend your Odin abilities further, you can also upgrade them at the blacksmith, of course, but here's another tip to extend your flight time. When coming to the end of the timer in your Raven ability, hover and then activate the land feature. You'll actually gain an extra 200 meters in travel before you do hit the ground. Additionally, you can activate all of these powers in combat, switching between them all, and even swan dive off places to then transform into a Raven before you hit the ground, which I really like the fluidity of. There wasn't any bugs for me doing this style of gameplay, which I really appreciate. And one final tip actually regarding the lava, which will kill you very fast if you don't use the power of Muspelheim when running on top of it. If you are short of Hugr and you don't have the power, the blinding rush ability is a very good alternative. You don't take any damage at all, and it is very good to know to have that as a backup. Now, when it comes to armor sets, you are going to be finding those familiar icons dished around the map, and I'm going to be whipping up a very easy guide for all armor pieces in each armor set, as well as weapon locations very soon, by the way. But for your own knowledge, the Dwarven armor set and the Fire Giant armor set will be found in loot boxes around Svartalfheim, which will actually require you to solve puzzles with your Odin abilities to actually get them, which I thought was surprisingly good fun and a bit of a change of pace than just running up and looting a box. But that's not so easy with the Jotnar armor set, because that can actually be obtained by completing the 12 Dwarves in Distress world events, and the All-Father armor set can be earned by completing the Valkyrie arena, and I'll be talking about that in just a moment. Additionally, the Hreidmar armor set can be obtained in a Dwarven shelter that will require Motsnir runes to purify it, otherwise it will kill you when you wear it. These runes are obtained via the Jotun Blight World events, which are cursed skulls. They, of course, make a reappearance here in this DLC. And all of these armor sets can be upgraded to Divine, by the way, which you can do by obtaining platinum bars. These are located in loot boxes around Svartalfheim, and again, the same mechanic applies here as the tungsten in England. And you'll also find Odin runes in them as well, which is a new socket that opens up after upgrading to Divine. Quick tip here for you, you'll also gain no full damage after fully upgrading your whole armor set to Divine, so 5 out of 5, which is more of an incentive to smash out some river raids fast early doors to get those materials. And a final noteworthy mention here, all armor will be automatically transferred to England. No explanation behind that lore-wise, but it's there when you wake up, so don't worry about that at all. Next up, let's talk about weapons. There's 8 ones here in this expansion, and if you're like me who gets distracted by all of the side content, quests and collectibles, well, you can obtain 5 of these weapons just by exploring, and the other 3 are going to be earned by completing the story. The Impaler Act gear, Calder's Fury, which is a Dane axe, and the Muspel Spark Act gear will all be earned via the main quest line, so do not worry about them. But for clarity, Fenrir's Incisor, the Fiery Warsong Act gear, the Jotnar axe, Thorgrim's Dying Breath, and the Legacy of Ivaldi hammer can all be obtained separately from the storyline in Svartalfheim. Ubisoft have also added a new combo system with the new weapon class, the Act gear. You just need to light attack spam and then hit the enemy with a heavy attack to trigger it, so just a heads up there. Now, unlike previous DLC expansions, you had a mount just given to you quite early on in the game, and it's not the case here though. You'll have to actually earn the Gullenbursty Iron Boar mount by completing a very swift world event that can be found on your map just here. I unfortunately did this late during my playthrough, as I was expecting it to just appear during the main quest line, so if you do want to storm around Svartalfheim on your boar, make sure you do go and do this world quest very early doors. You can also change tattoos, transmog, and engage with all Valhalla vendors in Svartalfheim, so there isn't any need to portal back to England just like we had to in previous expansions. Reda is also here, so daily quests can now function in Svartalfheim, and you can pick them up at each dwarven shelter. And by the way, if you have learned anything new or felt like you've picked up any sort of value from the video so far, and only if you wouldn't mind, a very swift like down below really does help me out, and it's a great way for me to understand if you've enjoyed it or found it useful, so thank you very much. Now let's talk about some legendary Hoard treasure maps. These were described by Ubisoft as being a reward for players who have engaged in Valhalla over the course of its lifespan, and well, that may well be the case, but the rewards aren't good, and I'm going to tell you straight up what you get. That is 1,500 leather, 10 nickel ingots, 1,000 iron ore, and 2 skill points for your 4 treasure hoard maps. And seriously, what is that all about? That is outrageously poor, and I don't think it's worth your time at all. It's a very big criticism from me here. I think it should have definitely been better. But if you are a completionist like me, and as the treasure hoard maps, which are the first set of videos I actually made on the channel, I'll also be putting out a tutorial guide in the next few days if you're interested. They're quite well hidden, to be fair, which makes it even more insulting. Now moving on to roaming bosses, they return here and they're called Sinmara's Chosen. There's 3 of them and they roam the world or will appear if you cause too much of a ruckus in Muspel camps which have alarms. Each one drops a broken blade piece which you can then return to the dwarven blacksmith, who will smelt them together, which will then become the Fiery Warsong Act gear, which is the best Act gear in the game in my opinion. You'll also need to hunt down 5 Suttungr Outriders, but to do so you're going to need to save 12 dwarves in distress to get their locations pop up on your map. And what I would say is, after you've helped the dwarves, don't forget to return to the shelters and speak to them, by the way, because they will chuck you a few rewards for helping them out. Now, roaming bosses aside, there's a new collectible in Svartalfheim and it's called the Uncut Gemstones, and I'm of course going to save you the trouble of collecting them as I've already done it for you, and I'm going to tell you not to bother unless you like Ravensthorpe settlement cosmetics or you're a bit of a completionist. There's a total of 17 of them dished around Svartalfheim, and when you do trade them in at the Dwarven Jeweler, you'll pick up a Muspelheim monolith, a Dwarven statue, a Yggdrasil Hugr shrine, and a Svartalfheim tree for the middle of your settlement, which out of all of them actually isn't too bad looking, to be fair, all things considered. But saying that, now you know what you're getting out of this gemstone collection. It's your call if you can be bothered to collect them or not. Now let's talk about more side content to know about here, and it's called the Mythical Memories, which Ubisoft officially describes as being based on Isu lore. These cutscenes are quite similar to the Ragnar Lothbrok one in Jorvikshire, and I think they're designed to give you a bit more of a flavour on what is suspected to be how Isu weapons were built, such as Gungnir and Mjolnir. Now, I'm of course not going to play each one in this video, but what do you actually get as a reward for finishing them? Especially if you're not too bothered about the lore cutscenes themselves. Well, after finishing the last one, the mechanical raven skin for Sunin is going to hit your infantry. It's a raven engineered by the dwarves, and to be fair, I think it is a very good looking bird in my opinion. It's something that I've equipped myself, but you don't get any other rewards apart from that. So you can either swerve this side quest if it doesn't really appeal to you, or if it's not a reward that you want yourself. Now, the Valkyrie arena, this actually deserves its own video to be fair, as there's a lot of dance steps here, but let me walk you through some key things to know. It's located here on your map, and once you arrive, you're going to then be able to fast travel to it back and forth. Now, the idea behind this arena is that you can complete previous encounters that you have completed in England and in Svartalfheim, and these tales, as they're called, are unlocked once you've completed the main story and side bosses, such as Suttungr's Outriders and Sinmara's champions in the DLC. You'll also be able to collect boasts, which are collectibles dotted around Svartalfheim, which will then allow you to activate different mechanics within a specific tale to increase the token reward you get for completing it. So for example, you could then fight the tale with your fists for extra tokens. This arena is how you actually earn the All-Father armor set, as well as the Aesir bow and the All-Father shield. Kara also sells hairstyles and some very good Odin runes, which I'd highly recommend getting just for the gameplay aspect. And if you actually want to get everything in the shop, it's going to set you back 17,600 tokens. And I found that a good medium on a tail would be around 400 tokens in terms of difficulty when activating boasts within a tail, which is around 4 or 5. So expect to do 40 to 50 battles to get everything. That's approximately how many it took me to clear out the shop. Now, I've got more Ragnarok content to come, by the way, so if you have enjoyed this, do consider subscribing so you can find your way back to the channel easily. And big thanks to all of you reloaders who support the channel with your own hard-earned money. I am incredibly grateful, so thank you very much for your support. And as usual, coffee is on me.